Hey guys, have a little wish list here that I've got for the Corsairs of Umbar coming into the new edition. With the announcement, with the confirmation that there's going to be an Umbar army, and some of my hopes with the characters, the named characters that the Corsairs have that we do not have access to with the Corsair fleets list from the armies of Lord of the Rings. Have a little just kind of wish list that I want for things that I hope to make the army not necessarily competitively viable, but at least fun to play and more enjoyable. I think currently it is the worst normal army, normal in the sense that it fields normal troops, doesn't really have any named heroes currently, but there's no gimmick of being only monsters or all cav. It's just a bunch of dudes that can take some of the war gear. You got banner effects, you don't have banners themselves, but nothing too crazy when it comes to the army itself. So, but I think it is probably the worst, or at least one of the worst normal armies. I think it might be the worst though. If you want like a tier list of my rankings of the different armies, let me know in the comments below. But otherwise, I'll get right into it. I'll start with my honorable mentions, and this is kind of more of a, not necessarily realistic or needs. It's kind of some wants in there as well, some wish list things, as well as some things that I think they very well could be doing. But the honorable mentions to start with, it's the legacy profiles, the Reaver and the Knight of Umbar. I really hope that they do it with all the legacy profiles, but especially for the Corsairs, I hope that these profiles are well balanced and aren't completely useless. So the Reaver just pointed well and basically the same profile, and then I hope the Knight of Umbar, I hope that he, since I am 99% sure he's going to be losing his Fellbeast, so rip my Parrot Fellbeast, but due to the modeling, I'm assuming Kamul will be the only named Ring Wraith besides the Witch King that still has a Fellbeast option. So assuming that he can only be on horse or on foot, I hope that they give him the Umbar keyword. I hope they go through and give all the named Ring Wraiths both the Mordor keyword and their specific faction keyword. It can be one or the other depending on the army, or like maybe you choose in list building, but some way so he can actually have the Umbar keyword and benefit from backstabbers. That would make up for him losing the Fellbeast since he has base 2 attacks with the Ring Wraith changes, so I'd be okay with that. Other than that, the wish list item that deals with the regular troops that I know is not going to happen would be being able to take throwing weapons on not just the shield guys. Being locked to the throwing weapons on just the shields I really dislike, and I would like for the spears at least to be able to get access to the throwing weapons somehow. But I doubt they'll do it just because of the complexity of keeping track of that, so my hope would be that they increase the throwing weapon limit to the army for 66%, and then with doing so you can have the shields and the spears with it, but I also doubt that'll happen either. So on to the list proper. The first one is I really would like the heroes to have some form of their strikes being more impactful in fighting. Dal didn't have it before, while Dal did. So Dalamir had strike, Dalgamir didn't, but I hope that this edition they both have it. And then there's something that makes their strikes like better than other people. Either make it be an homage to the last edition and it's still D6 for them. Their strikes maybe are still D6, or maybe they're D3 +1, or just a +1 to the roll would maybe be the most likely of them, but I would like the idea of the pirates being a little bit more crafty and cunning when they're doing a heroic strike. And I think that would be pretty thematic for them and also very fun to play with. The next one is specifically Dalamir and his smoke bombs. I really hope that they do something, since losing channeled transfix, that they make it to where my ideal situation would be that they make it like Gandalf's fireworks, where he has like maybe 3 or 4 different effects he can choose from, but he can't throw the same one twice, like back to back, I would imagine. Each turn he can throw one, have various effects that can allow him to do unique things that maybe he wouldn't be able to do otherwise. And I really hope they get rid of the effects going away on a one that he loses them. I think that with the Knight of Umbar being legacied, they need to design the rest of the army based around the non-legacy profiles being there. And without the extra slight magic support to make the smoke bombs better, to remove will, the smoke bombs are just going to be resisted all the time. So they either need to get rid of the resist, which would feel kind of bad if you just had an unresistible transfix, or change the effects in some way. So I wouldn't mind multiple effects if you rolled 1, maybe you lose that effect for the rest of the game. So if he had like his normal transfix smoke and then a explosives grenade that like knocks people back or something, or knocks them prone instead of transfixing them, that, oh, you rolled a 1 trying to throw the explosive, you lost the explosives now, but then you can still use your transfix smoke kind of thing. I think either of those could be interesting, but something needs to be done to keep his smoke grenades being cool and interesting. Also, speaking of Dalamir, my next thing would be that I would love for him to have, this could be what they do with his smoke grenades, but I would love for him to have an ability tied to his will, and kind of like the ballista army bonus in fleets. I would like for him and Umbar to maybe be like, you spend a will and you kind of get like a barrage, a broadside from the ships off the battlefield kind of thing. So you spend a will point and you get to like shoot a ballista or something from the side. I think would be kind of interesting and cool for him, and kind of thematic of like they're raiding you from the sea and they're out fighting on the coast. I think would be pretty cool. The next thing is for upgrades for potentially the captain or bosun. I think that the captain and bosuns can be interesting, but could use a little bit of an oomph of like maybe being able to upgrade like the bosun to be a banner VP, in the same vein that I kind of hope that the Black Numenorians are still in the game in their list. If they lose access to their banner VPs with the Black Numenorian, that's going to be a little sad, because I loved running a Black Numenorian for banners VPs and corsairs, even though you can have bosuns, which are really good banner effects, really, but they're not counting for banner VPs. Either giving an upgrade for the bosun to be a banner VP, or make him more impressive, or keep Black Numenorians with banners in the list. But I'm not convinced that they're 100% going to be in the list, but I sure hope they are. But kind of like having upgrades for them, or like a Nasdaq stealing rule, something that makes them a little bit more interesting than just like, especially the captains, of just being this unnamed thing where you have like this unnamed banner effect that just kind of is better most of the time. And then probably my first want is just give Dalamir 3 might. Him being 2 might compared to Delgamar being 3, just the 2 versus 3 makes no sense. Make them both 3 might. You're already typically playing down on might because the bosun's only 1. You're going to be taking at least 1 or 2 of them, if not more, over the captains in my experience. So just give them the 3 might, especially if they get rid of the missing the spoke bomb on 1 and it disappearing. The excess might doesn't really affect that nearly as much. So if they get rid of that, they can afford, I think, to give them the 3rd point of might. But yeah, that's kind of the long and short of it, of just kind of the things that I want to see from the Corsairs. Just because I think as they are, their base profile of the Corsairs is just so bad at 9 points with their gear is overcosted so horribly. Like, yes, they have fairly cheap captains at like 40 and 50 points basically, but that's not any cheaper than like a Mordor orc captain, and they get cheaper orcs, so they horde out better. And then not having throwing weapons on everyone makes the horde feel way less impactful, and being D3 locked, like, they don't even really like fighting orcs if they haven't trapped them, because they just get wounded back on 4s to their 5s on the orc. Like, they were paper thin before, and they're just even more paper thin now. And I guess the other thing is, I hope that like the Arbalesters come back and are good and balanced. They're not overcosted, which is another fear of mine. I fear, in general, the Black Numenorians being a lot worse this edition, and I'm worried about the Arbalesters because of how the breakdown of the army is, with the strain between the throwing weapons and the bows or crossbows. I'm hoping that they're just a solid profile still. But I think that about wraps it up. If you think of anything that the Corsairs could use that would be on point, please let me know. But I really hope that the book comes out and kind of gives them a resurgence and a playability that they lacked beforehand. Because they were easily my favorite army last edition, and now they are just kind of, like I said, I think they're the worst normal army that you can play in the game right now. Discounting maybe, no, I just think they're the worst. I just think they're the worst. If you disagree with me though, let me know, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you.